Hello, my name is William Cameron Calvert, and today I will be giving a presentation on the organization that I decided to develop and how that organization will solve conflict and resolve conflict. So, the organization that I've developed is called the Troy, Missouri Church Plant, and my organization is focused on reaching souls and adding souls to the body of Christ. Some of the things that our organization may do to reach these goals are Bible studies, Wednesday night, Sunday morning services. We want to get involved in different sorts of outreach ministries like a food pantry, outdoor worship events, and then also we want to make sure that we are getting children involved as well. So children's services, different sorts of children's events. Our organization's vision is to have a self-sustaining church in the Troy area, and we want to have members who are dedicated to helping this church grow in this area, and we want to make sure that our organization is focused on making sure that we plant the desire to see lost souls saved within our church. We want to find members who will be, elders and strong members within our church. Within any organization, any church, you're going to have conflict and you're going to have opinions not coming to an agreement. So it's very important that we learn how to solve conflict. And within my organization, we will solve conflict from a scriptural standpoint. And when we put God in the middle of things, we're more likely to get things figured out, and we're more likely to solve the conflict that we're looking to resolve. So we can look at Matthew chapter 18, and it gives us a good starting point on how to solve issues. The first thing that we should always do when there's any sort of conflicts amongst each other is go to the person who has offended you. Matthew chapter 18, verse 15 states, "Go and tell him his fault between you and him alone." And obviously there will be times where if something is a serious issue, for example, crime or any sort of harassment, then obviously, there will be times when you need to go straight to authorities due to possibly a individual being dangerous towards other people. But most of the time, it's just going to be a simple disagreement, a simple conflict that needs to be resolved. And I think that Matthew chapter 18 gives us a great starting ground for solving any sort of problem. And I think within our churches today and within our organizations, workplaces, and our schools, sometimes we skip this stage of going to the person who has upset you or offended you. And a lot of times that allows things to get out of hand and allows things to grow bigger than what they actually were originally. So like I was saying, if that does not work and things cannot be figured out amongst the two individuals, then it is important to seek a third party. Having a third party present can help make sure that things do not get out of hand, and that third voice can often be a voice of reason. It's also beneficial to have someone involved who cares about both parties who are at quarrel. So, for example, a pastor would be a great person to go to. Any sort of leader, if it's within a business setting or a secular job, going to an individual who is, higher up in the rankings of the organization. And then if none of that works and these two people still cannot come to an agreement within my organization, I would believe that at that point it is time for the two individuals to be sat down for a moment, because if there's still conflict And if the two parties have not, come to forgiveness for one another, then that's an issue. And the reason being is because it's incredibly important to forgive, because Christ forgave us. And the underlying issue here is love. And it's important that every member of my organization has love for one another, because that's scriptural. It's scriptural that the lost world will see the church and see how we love one another, and they will know that we are members of the body of Christ. And I think that within that body of Christ, it's incredibly important that we develop a culture that revolves around forgiveness. Because anytime you have people who are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into an organization, you have anytime people who are working hard at something and trying to see, for example, in our organization, trying to grow a church, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be different opinions, and not every opinion can be made into fact. Not every opinion can be, what is chosen to go forth with. So it's easy for individuals to become frustrated, to argue, and it's important that at the end of the day, our culture still has a strong forgiveness and love for one another. The next subject that I'm going to talk about is external conflict. And I think a lot of times external conflict is not as, it's a bit more, obviously, because you can see it as external. And in order to keep from arguing, and to keep from this external conflict, it's very important that every individual within our organization feels that love and that respect that I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the culture within my organization. Overall, my organization is seeking to reach the lost, while also making sure that we take care of all conflict that arises, because conflict will always happen in areas where you have people. It is impossible to avoid conflict, but it is important that we take precautions to avoid tensions building and proverbial walls being built up. As a church, it is important that we humble ourselves and make sure that we are not creating conflict with the ones we are trying to reach. It is extremely important that we show all people the love of Christ. As the church, we have to make sure that we are compatible with people who we are working with and searching. We have to make sure that we are compatible with the people we are working with in reaching the lost. And in the end, we have to make sure that we do what we are called to as Christians, and that is reaching the lost. Thank you.